Good evening. My name is Kelly Carroll, and I am the chair of Bennington's Community Policing Advisory Review Board. It is 6:02 p.m. on Thursday, December 19th, 2024, and we are meeting in the Bennington Fire Facility Multipurpose Room on the third floor at 130 River Street in Bennington. I first would like to ask my other board members to introduce themselves.
Jeff Vickers.
Kate Cost.
Scott Frost.
We also have with us our Select Board Liaison, Jean Connor, and Lee from CAT TV. Jeff, would you please read the town vision statement?
Yep. Vision statement for the town of Bennington. Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, and resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life.
Before we get to the consent agenda, we do have an agenda change this evening. We will not be discussing the complaint. We are not ready to discuss that. So can I get a motion to amend the agenda?
I second.
Okay. All those in favor of amending the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. The approval of the previous agenda minutes distributed for the purpose of discussion ahead of time, so can I get a motion to accept?
I move to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. Next on the agenda, we have public comment, and we have Sarah Beth Ward, who is here to speak on about the library. So, Sarah Beth, thank you. If you can just...
Hi, Sarah Beth Ward. I volunteer at the Green Mountain Christian Center, and I was there today doing some volunteer work, and I noticed that the little library that's usually outside of the church was not there. It was inside. So I asked somebody that works at the church, did it get hit by a car or what happened to it? They told me that drug deals were being done in that little library, in that kiosk. I want to know if anybody else has heard that, if that's true, if it's been reported to the police. But if that's something that is true, that's extremely sad. Because my grandchildren go to these little kiosks, and I myself go to the kiosks to get the books, so just a question.
Okay, thank you. That wouldn't be something that we have knowledge of. No. Okay. I will tell you later on our agenda, we will be talking about a public safety forum that we're doing in February. So, okay. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak who has not signed up? If you could just state your name and town of residence, please.
I'm Tom Kelly, and I live here in Bennington about a year and a half now. And I don't know if this is the right forum, and I apologize if it isn't, but we moved from New Jersey to Vermont, our beloved Vermont, for our retirement years, and we live in the South Shire neighborhood. And I understand from some of the folks living there and in the area that there's a lot of concern about the speeding that's going on from Route 7 over Monument Avenue. Some of it continues on Monument Avenue. A lot of it turns down Dewey Street. I myself have been I don't want to say engaged because I wasn't engaged, but I don't want to say victim because that sounds a little dramatic, but several instances where I've had road rage incidences on that route. There's a lot of tailgating going on that road. There's a lot of speeding going on that road. Again, I understand from some of my neighbors that there's been some studies proposed to do some traffic calming to try and address that. And I guess the comment or question I had was when are we going to see some enforcement? Coming from New Jersey, right? It's the most densely populated state in the union. We have everything from zero enforcement to really strict enforcement of speeding laws. In, like I said, the year and a half that we've lived in town, I can tell you I have not seen a single police car on Monument Avenue ever. And in the meantime, while these studies are going on, and I assume that there'll be some actions taken. Those are going to take time to implement as well. I would really love to see some enforcement on Monument Avenue specifically. And again, going down Dewey, it seems especially bad heading towards the hospital. And just, try and make it so that I can turn out of my development and not be tailgated all the way into town, not have people passing me on double yellow lines, flipping me off, passing me while I'm stopped at a stop sign trying to make a turn. Right? Those are all things that have happened to me in less than 18 months. It's a part of New Jersey that we were trying to leave behind, quite honestly.
Yeah, I travel to New Jersey quite often for work, and I fully understand and hear what you're saying. So, Jean, I know you are our Select Board liaison, and the traffic calming and everything has been on the agenda recently. So would you like to comment?
I don't really have anything to say because when I'm a single person on the Select Board and I have absolutely no power, but I will tell you it is on the Select Board, has been on the Select Board's radar for several months. We haven't discussed it recently, but I would encourage you to come to a Select Board meeting and say what you said here, there. Do you know when we meet and where?
I'm sure it's easily accessible.
Okay, I can just tell you really quickly. We meet the 2nd and 4th Monday night at 6 o'clock in this room.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Great.
Except for December,
Except for that.
except
Yeah,
for this month.
Actually, December, we had our 2 meetings back to back. So our next meeting will be in January,
it's the
January whatever,
13th, I think.
6th? No, 13th.
That's right. All fine.
Yeah, yep, yep.
That is one thing that we really love about Bennington is every piece of information is readily available, and the folks at Town Hall are amazing.
Great.
Just for some positive feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
you.
welcome.
I'll be happy
Yeah.
to come by and voice that same concern.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that would be great.
And thanks to the board for their time. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay. Next on the agenda, we have the Bennington Police Department update with Chief Paul Doucette. And I know that we're going to be talking about Gracie, but is there anything that you wanted to add to the previous conversation with the traffic calming?
We'll start with that.
Okay.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Doucette, Chief of Police and Public Safety Director for the town of Bennington. Welcome to Bennington. We enjoy when we have people from New Jersey move to our area because we know why you're here. And I will start by telling you that I myself, personally, as the police chief, spend time on Monument Avenue Extension. There is a speeding problem there. One of the 10 locations that we identified that has a significant speeding problem in Bennington is Monument Avenue and Monument Avenue Extension. There's a lot of reasons for that. One of them, which is, you've already mentioned, the hospital. There's a couple of different ways to get to the hospital. You can go all the way out Monument Avenue, or you can take the right and go down Dewey Street and go up the hill. That is an issue. It's also used as a shortcut for people coming from North Adams, Williamstown, to get over through North Bennington and over towards New York, or to get out and go out Route 9 towards New York. So I do occasionally spend time myself on Monument Avenue. I used to live on Monument Avenue. So Monument Avenue is near and dear to my heart, and I apologize that you're experiencing these problems. We are experiencing a shortage of law enforcement officers here. We are down 5, and that's a whole shift for us. And it's not an excuse. Prior to you coming to Bennington, the Bennington Police Department was reviewed by the IACP, and it was found that we were too aggressive with our traffic enforcement. And now what's happening is it's quite the contrary. People criticized us because we were writing too many tickets. So now our tickets and warnings are split about 50-50. But in my opinion, as the police chief, and you can write this down, warnings don't fix the problem. If the fine doesn't get you, the points will. So I am a huge advocate of writing Vermont civil violation complaints to people. Not that I don't think people need an occasional warning, but we don't have programs like Scared Straight or what have you here to stop people from speeding. It really is about the fine and/or the points. So Lieutenant Grandy took some notes while you were speaking, and we'll let our people know. We do have at least 2 officers that come to mind of the 21 or so that we have left that do work Monument Avenue. And if you ask around, Betty and Alger Beal, they've passed away, but they were great people. They used to let us sit in their driveway. And one day, God rest her soul, Betty Beal backed out of her garage and the officer was sitting in the driveway, and there might have been a little crash there in the driveway. But the Beals were very, very supportive of allowing us to sit, and they have a great spot. It's a great spot. It's right there. It used to be 3402 Monument Avenue. I used to live in that red barn that's there, and I used to spend a lot of time on Monument Avenue. So we are trying, but again, Monument Avenue has been identified. We're working with our state partners to obtain. We recently applied for and received a grant, a very large grant, so that we can buy another speed cart. We don't keep them out in the wintertime, sir, because in Vermont we get a little more snow than New Jersey, and the plow trucks do not like our speed carts, nor do we like the plows throwing snow on our speed carts. So anyway, duly noted, and I appreciate your comments and your concerns, and we'll try to do a better job on Monument Avenue. You're very welcome. Stop by and see me sometime. I'd love to hear all about you in New Jersey. I have a lot of friends in New Jersey. I'm not a Jets or Giants fan, but I do go down for the games because it's fun.
You're showing your smarts, not being
So, anyway, shall I move on, Ms. Carroll?
Yes, please.
Very good. We talked about talking a little bit about Gracie, our beloved canine. It's still very hard for the officers. I went and drank some water before I came up here. I talked a lot already. But Gracie is still deeply missed. And it's difficult in the sense that everywhere we go, the lieutenant and I, Officer Morawski, we appreciate the condolences. We appreciate people talking to us about Gracie, but it's still very difficult. This was not the plan, as all of you know. Our plan was to have Gracie and Stark work side by side for at least a year and a half. And then we were going to retire Gracie and move on and obtain another dog. Gracie has been an icon at the Bennington Police Department over the last 8 years. She, as you all know, recovered over $1.5 million in cash, in narcotics, found numerous guns, found lots of people, both lost and wanted people, and she's missed terribly. I know I keep repeating myself on that, but she really is. We every day, I miss the bark. I miss the fact that she runs around the office. I miss the fact that she comes into my office looking for a milk bone, and when she didn't get that, she would just roll over and let me rub her belly, and she was satisfied with that. We love her, we miss her, and it's not as easy as just moving on, as some people have said. You need to move on, Chief. It's not that simple. And, we appreciate all of the support that's come from this community, and a lot of lovely notes and cards have come in. Elementary school kids coloring and drawing pictures. That means a lot to all of us. If you were able to attend the memorial for Gracie, you saw the choir from Mount Anthony Union High School and the kids that sang. They did an amazing job, and a lot of those kids had Gracie in their classroom when they were younger, so it meant a lot to us. Again, over 300 people attended the memorial service, 21 gun salute, flag folding. She earned it, she deserved it, and it's not as easy, like I said, as moving on. So moving forward, what are our plans? Lieutenant Grandy and I were able to meet with the town manager today. We've been working on our plans. We are not, quote, replacing Gracie. Gracie can't be replaced. We will seek and find a new dog. We will open up the process for members of the Bennington Police Department to put in to become a canine handler, and we'll have a process for that. And we're going to move forward. I will tell you this. Today helped because I will share with all of you that Canine Stark was able to successfully complete all of his training effective today, the 19th of December, 2024, and he has a big old paper certificate signed by the director of the police academy as well as the head trainer at the police academy saying that he is ready to come to Bennington and get to work. And you know, although he cannot salute me, we're going to work on that at this point. But Stark has done amazingly well at the academy. 2 different breeds for our new friends from New Jersey. Stark is a black lab.
We went to the party they had for him, the VFW.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
we went to the fundraiser.
All right, so you got to meet Stark.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's
You're lucky he didn't come all of it.
he's you know, we talk about this, but he's grown up and he's bigger than he was that night, and he's got a heart of gold, but you know, same as Gracie, he knows when it's time to work. So we're looking forward to him coming back and getting out into the community. And Officer McCauley deserves a lot of credit as well. He's really dedicated himself and his time. Being away from home and living at the academy is not anyone's favorite thing to do, and that's what he and Stark have been doing for quite some time now. So we're looking forward to him getting back to Bennington and being part of our team. And at the same time, you know, we're actively looking for a new dog. It will be a shepherd, a German shepherd, and the canine training at the academy is going to be starting at the end of February. So we have some options that we're exploring. The canine staff at the academy. I was on the phone with the director this week, and he is going to help us along with some members of the Vermont Canine Association so that we can, again, drive forward. So our plan is to have 2 dogs working at the same time. And my goal, and you can write this down, my goal is to have that happen in 2025. We will get that back up and running like our original plan. So that's really where we're at with Gracie. We're still taking donations if people are interested. Checks payable to the town of Bennington, in the memo line it says Canine Gracie, and those checks go right over to the town of Bennington and are deposited. They're acknowledged by the town manager and are tax deductible. So what else? Our training yard. We're going to memorialize Gracie by dedicating our canine training yard to Gracie. We can't do that right now because it's supposed to be cold here in Vermont. These last couple of days tell us different, but it's supposed to drop down to 5 degrees in a few days. So we won't be building anything until the spring. And once that gets up and running, Lieutenant Grandy or I will keep you posted on that. So we're really looking forward to that and having our own mini Vermont Police Academy training yard here in the southwestern part of the state, so other dogs in the area can come and train with us, and we don't have to constantly send our people up to Pittsford for training. So we're going to do our own thing here, and we're going to share that. And we've had some offers from Vermont Paws and Boots out on the West End for assistance as well. So we appreciate all of that. So really, that's where we're at. As far as what else is going on at the Bennington Police Department, we're right in the middle of, we're just starting actually, our holiday campaign for traffic enforcement. Here, it's statewide, it's actually nationwide, and so there'll be extra officers out and about doing traffic safety enforcement. Here in Bennington, as you all know, we do have a highway safety grant from the state of Vermont that allows for us to do things like that. So there's really no cost to the taxpayers on that. Those extra patrol hours are grant funded. Working on budgets. If anyone is interested in the police department and/or fire department budget, I'll be presenting both, along with the fire chief, of course, on January 4th here in this room to the select board and going over that as well. Interested in any questions you may have?
So just a question about the new shepherd. Are you looking at a puppy like Stark, or a dog that's already been a little bit trained, a year old or 2 years old?
So right now, after speaking with the training coordinator at the police academy, it is their recommendation that we attempt to find a German Shepherd that is 10 to 12 months old, that has a drive, and there have been some recommendations made by that director. So again, this was all learned this week, and I have not reached out to any of the places that they have recommended, and but that is the plan. We needed to get permission from the town manager to drive that forward, and Lieutenant Grandy and I did receive that permission today to drive forward with that. And the academy staff is willing to help us with the selection process. I mean, we made out really well. I was in touch with, we'll just call her Tanya at this point. I was in touch with Tanya, who donated Stark to the police department today, and she said she knew all along Stark was going to be all that. And she was right, but we were fortunate with Stark because he got to go to the academy at a young age. Let's keep in mind he's only 10 months old, and he is spot on. But again, labs and shepherds are a little bit different, and but the recommendation is to find a German Shepherd that is 10 to 12 months old, not that we don't appreciate all the offers that we've had from folks from really all over New England to receive a German Shepherd puppy. We've had some folks reach out and offer other breeds of dogs too. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, I can't say thank you enough to all of the people that have reached out through Facebook or have sent emails. But we're trying to slow things down a little bit, just because it is, honestly, it's a little overwhelming, because we don't want to let people down, and it's tough to say no to people when they really want to help, but we have to get advice from professionals. I mean, let's keep in mind, I mean, Gracie was almost a year old when we took her, and she worked out phenomenally well, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions from the board? Jean?
Yeah.
The first thing I want to say is I'm really, really excited that Stark's graduation day was today, because today is my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Well, happy birthday.
So Stark and I are kind of bonded. Okay. I also wanted to just share, Tony, my husband, had a conversation with Officer Morawski about Gracie, and he explained to him that he didn't understand how, but Gracie was able to understand if she was dealing with missing persons. That was the topic. That it was a missing child versus a missing adult. And she would behave differently depending on that it was a child. And Tony was just absolutely fascinated by that. The bark was different, her behavior was different. That's fascinating to me. So I just wanted to share that. And the other thing was, you had told me, I don't know, a couple years ago, that you were intentionally looking for a lab to complement the the German Shepherd breed. And I think it would be great for you to speak to why you made that decision and how it was hoping to work out and will work out once you find a new shepherd.
Well, for us here in Bennington, we took a look at Gracie's performance, and it was outstanding. But a lot of people look at shepherds and they're like, ooh, they're afraid or what have you. Which sometimes in the police world we want to make sure that our canine partner can defend the officer. Labs, on the other hand, are they're tracking wise. I would believe that the lab and the shepherd probably pretty much the same. It's going to depend on the training and the handler. The labs seem to be a little more approachable by members of the community, and I think that's one of the big reasons why we wanted to complement our canine program with a lab, and so that we had both. And certainly our lab is not going to go running after someone and with a bite sleeve, and the lab's not going to take the person down. That's not what it's for. We were hoping to have a dog that could trail, track, find narcotics, and find evidence. And Stark's been trained on all of that. Stark is not aggressive. We're not going to turn Stark loose in a building to go look for someone that's burglarizing the building, and things like that. So it really is it would have been a huge compliment for the two of them to work together. My favorite photo of the two of them was up at the monument when Gracie and Stark went nose to nose, and Stark got a little playful, and Gracie told him, and he ran. He doesn't do that anymore, though, because he's trained with other dogs, and it's worked out really well. But I think, at this point, we look at Moose, canine Moose up in Manchester, who's a black lab, doing phenomenally well. Has been, just like we shared Gracie, Moose is shared in this county as well as over in Wyndham, and Moose has been going over, for example, to Springfield, Vermont, and helping them with their situations as well. There was just another good drug rip over there, so. They go hand in hand, we just want to be able to get a new shepherd and drive this program forward, like I promised.
I had a couple. I was just going to ask. So you're thinking in the end of February. So it's pretty quick to start. Is that possible? Do you think? Is that?
It is possible.
Okay. And then you said you were going to have plans to open the process to become a canine handler. Is that in addition to Rob, or how does that work? Could you potentially have more than one additional dog? And I guess where I was going with it is you don't want every officer to have a dog, but if more than one officer is interested, do you have the potential to have more dogs, or is it just too cost prohibitive, I don't know?
There's nothing confidential about this. We've met with Rob. We've explained that there may be other people that are interested. He's had Gracie for over 8 years, and everybody deserves the opportunity, as does Rob. And Rob will be allowed to participate in the process, and he very well may be selected. But we do have the obligation to post the position and allow everyone to put in for that. And as we explained to the manager today, we plan to bring in other people that are involved in canine programs to do the interview process, with the lieutenant and I observing. And then getting some assistance with the selection. Because there's more to it, Jeff, than just selecting someone. We have to look at the person's home environment.
Right.
We have to look at where they live. If I have someone that's putting in for a canine position and they live 40 minutes away, that doesn't help us if we need somebody in 10 minutes.
Yep.
So those are all factors that will come into play. But absolutely, Rob can put in for that and participate. So I think your question was, are we going to have more than 2 dogs?
Could you?
That's the way but we're not set up for that. We're set up to have 2 canines.
Okay.
And that's as far as we're going to go with that, because then we get into the whole thing of where do we get a $44,000 police car and $19,000 to upfit that police car, and then we have to maintain that police car. So I just don't have that.
Well, and I was kind of going to ask, and where I was going with it is I didn't know if the different dogs had different specialties, and it sounds like they do potentially, and if 2 was enough to get you everything you needed or wanted, or would another one, although it may be a cost thing, but it does seem like the community really supports it. So if there is the potential, but it sounds like 2 is what you need.
Right. I think now, as we talked about when we were going through the last fundraising process, having 2 dogs, one on the day team and one on the night team, really is where we need to be. Okay. And they can complement each other in the sense that if we need more than 1 dog, we have that.
Yep.
And then we can rely on Winhall, and we can rely on Manchester as well. Both departments, both chiefs, Chief Tinkin and Chief Owens both reached out when they heard of the passing of Gracie. Both participated in the memorial service, and it means a lot to me that we have that support from other agencies as well. So,
okay, great. And then I was just wondering, you said you had the holiday traffic enforcement campaign. In the past, I think there have been like checkpoints and stuff like that. Would that be happening again this year, or is that a secret?
Yes, they're happening. It's a secret where they're going to be.
And when.
So,
okay.
So, yes, no.
I've gone through a few of them.
Checkpoints will be happening, but there'll be extra traffic enforcement. Yeah. And as you know, there was an unfortunate incident up in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, where a law enforcement officer was shot. Mm-hmm. And we're going to wait and see what happens, but I am committed to helping everyone, just like we did when there was an unfortunate incident in Rutland. We're committed to helping the St. Johnsbury Police Department. I know what people are thinking, gosh, that's a long haul, but I will tell you that the Bennington Police Department is obligated to helping other law enforcement agencies. So we're waiting to see how their staffing is going to be, and part of our holiday give back may be to help the St. Johnsbury Police Department if they need us.
Cool.
So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Thank you very much.
I just want to add really quickly, if you don't mind, about a year or so ago, we tried to obtain some information from other law enforcement agencies at the request of CPARB. And not all of the agencies responded. So recently, the request was brought up again, and I'm pleased to report that 3 of the 5 agencies have reported to us. And as soon as I get the data back from the other 2, I will certainly be sharing that with all of you here on CPARB. It's coming in slowly, but hopefully I have that information for you, and we can talk about agencies our size and their staffing levels and where they're at and their calls for service. So looking forward to following up on that.
Thank you.
I had one more question I forgot about that you just reminded me, because you were earlier you were talking that you were down, was it 5?
We are.
Okay, but are you actively recruiting then still?
Yeah, I mean, we're actively trying to get people to apply. There's still a lot of factors there. We're looking at, what other departments have that we don't. I mean, sure, everybody's got a great chief, including Bennington, but that doesn't just bring people here, right? we have to start looking at other factors. And it's interesting, as silly as it may sound, I mean, there's a lot of departments now that give you your birthday off, or they pay you overtime on your birthday, and those are all things that I'm just not used to, but that's something that, as silly as it may sound, it's something to consider. Mother's Day, if you're a female employee, Father's Day, if you're a male employee, and I mean, those are things that other agencies are doing that, we've never had a request from the union. And there's just a lot of little things out there that people are looking at. And benefits is, that's a big thing too. We all know that the healthcare costs are out there, and I don't want to give up too much at this meeting, but I mean the police union just agreed to go with I don't know if I should call it a lower plan, but a different healthcare plan to try to save the town money. And so I mean we have to take a look. I mean, quite honestly, we've talked about this in these meetings before. It was just a couple of years ago that the town even began to offer dental and vision. We weren't doing that. And now we are, and we have to get the word out, because it was always known that, Bennington doesn't have dental and vision. And, to some people, getting your teeth cleaned 3 times a year is important. It's preventative, right? So there's a lot of little things that we need to take a look at, Jeff. We've got some people going up for testing, and hopefully we're able to get some good candidates. It takes a while, as you know, and we're thinking that probably in the summer of 2025, we'll have some people starting the academy, or we'd love to have some lateral transfers, but so would a whole host of other departments in the state of Vermont. And it's tough because we're a border community. And what I mean by that is we have Massachusetts we have to contend with, we have New York that we have to contend with. New York State Police are now going to allow lateral transfers without having to do their 6-month academy. And we have to look at starting pay, and there's a whole host of things that we're going to have to look at if we're going to actively recruit people to come work in Bennington. And housing's a big factor too, but we're not going to go down that road tonight.
I wonder if there's, and that's obviously money, but not that you guys don't do a great job, but you have so many other things. If there are people that specialize in looking at the entire compensation package and then giving recommendations and creative ideas, kind of like what you've been talking about, that might be, lower cost, or maybe it's not low cost. Maybe they come back with, this is what you would need in your budget to really do whatever. I don't know. I've never thought about it until just now, but yeah, okay.
Always happy to talk.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Is any of that type of data coming in from those 5 communities that you had requested from?
Yes,
I know we asked about stuff like, FTEs and number of calls and things like that, but are there any specific recruiting?
I just want to, basically, the 4 questions that I sent out to the agencies that you wanted to hear from, it was Brattleboro, Springfield, Berry City, Rutland, and St. Albans. And 3 of the 5 have responded, so I'll share that with you. But I'd like to have information from other departments as well. I mean, there's a lot of departments operating at the 3 that I have received so far, everybody's short-staffed. And of the 3 that have responded, they don't have the call volume that we have. One agency's close, but that's why we selected those 5, as because we wanted something comparable. I mean, it's not fair to compare Bennington to Manchester. I think they've had about 4,000 calls.
Or Burlington.
Compared to, well, I mean, Burlington's got their own issues, right? I mean, they don't have a midnight shift anymore. Their chief is stepping down. The 2 deputy chiefs are stepping down. That community's ready to implode, and
they had to contract with VSP for a while too.
So, yes.
Yeah.
And so we, that's not. Although I love and respect the chief up there, that's not a situation I want to find ourselves in here.
Nope.
So.
Well, I hope that you find the 12-hour shifts have helped with recruiting and retention.
Yeah, so I think not as much recruiting and retention, but employee wellness,
Okay.
I think
That's important.
is important. Not I think, I know is important. The patrol division officers now get every other weekend off as compared to the 8. It's not good for the lieutenant's wellness because it's difficult to schedule mandatory training and things like that. But what we do have is a group of officers that are willing to change their schedules to accommodate training. And as you know, we try to operate with a minimum of 3 officers on per shift. Ultimately, I'd like to see 5. But we're making things happen. Our detectives are working, as you know, patrol shifts. The lieutenant and I go out and work patrol shifts. And I love stopping cars, and I love when somebody goes, "I'm getting a ticket from the chief?" You betcha. So the bottom line is that, you know, I do believe that the 12-hour shifts are working for morale and wellness. And now that we just recently announced that we were officially moving to the 12-hour shift, so we have to reopen the contract for language change only, and we have to make those adjustments because there's a lot in the working, I call it a contract because I'm old, but it's a working agreement. And in that working agreement, we have to make some adjustments because the working agreement is based on an 8.5-hour day. And so we have to go back in there and fix all of that. But the 12-hour shifts are definitely working. I'm not aware of anyone being dissatisfied with that. And we're pleased that we actually made that change. And we're pleased that our employees are getting to spend more time at home. And let's face it, I mean, when your spouse or your friend that you reside with is off on weekends and you are not off on weekends except for maybe 8 weekends a year, now you have 26 weekends off per year. It also allows the opportunity to cover some of the details at the hospital, at the tech center, at the high school. The sporting events at the high school require law enforcement coverage, and with the officers having the availability, those details are more apt to get filled. They're working. Thanks for bringing that up. I didn't have that on my list. So thank you.
I think it's an important recruitment and retention tool for quality of life.
Yeah.
That balance and the wellness, because there's so much trauma that the officers deal with.
There's been a lot in this past month.
All of our first responders have had an incredible amount of trauma that they have to deal with.
This last month and a half
has
for
been
first responders, not just the police, but for rescue
for
and
all
fire,
of them.
Has been a lot.
Yep.
And Bennington's lucky that they have the rescue squad and that they have the fire departments that they have. And so we just have to work together to make it work.
And I think it's good that the police department and UCS have a working agreement, contract, memorandum of understanding, whatever you want to call it, for that one-on-one time for the officers to talk about some of this stuff that they see.
Yes. And it's not just the one-on-one. I mean, when we've had a few traumatic incidents, I mean, they send a whole crew, a whole staff of people to come in and talk to the officers and the communication specialists one-on-one. We find time for that. You don't have to put in for 30 minutes of leave. We make sure that you have a space so that you can go and talk to someone. And it's been very good for us. UCS has been very good for us.
That collaboration is important with community policing,
Yes.
so thank you. And to UCS too.
Yes.
So.
Can you just tell us what the shifts are? Is it 7 to 7? If it's a 12-hour shift, when does it stop and start?
So we allowed the union members to select that. I wanted it to be 6 to 6. I lost that vote. The officers come in at 5 in the morning and go home at 5 in the afternoon.
Wow.
The next shift comes in at approximately 4:45 in the afternoon, and they go home at 5 o'clock in the morning. That was their preference. And I don't think there's any debate about that. That's just what they wanted, and we agreed to that, and it is working out. So our detectives are still working 8 to 10 hours a day. The lieutenant and I work about 10 to 12 hours a day, but we work 5 days a week. And, but it's working out for sure.
Probably makes it a little bit easier with the K-9 coverage too, when we do get the second team, right? Instead of 3 shifts.
Well, I mean, really now we have 2 shifts, right? We have a night team and a day team. So it's a day team 1, a day team 2, a night team 1, a night team 2, and that's how it works. And that's where the lieutenant has some stress at times, is making sure that all of that is covered. But yeah, no, right now it's working.
Good.
So.
All right.
All set.
So, thank you.
you.
Yep. All right. Next up on the agenda is the CPARB future planning goals and activities. Last week, Kate and I met with Gene Jenkins, Gene Connor, and Ed Woods, the chief and lieutenant, and we went through some of the items that we were changing, and there were some requested changes after that, so I'm going to turn it over to Kate to talk about the changes.
Yeah.
They've been distributed, and hopefully we can get a vote and get it passed tonight.
If you have been able to see the document online at all, there's a lot of different colors in it. And so, let you look at that. When we had, I think it was last month, we voted to approve the changes that we had read through. We, as Kelly said, we met with members of the select board, but we also had Stu Hurd and Dan Monks from the town look at this and give us some feedback on it. So it's had lots of eyes, if you will, to make sure that we're capturing the spirit, if you will, the intention of not just the committee that preceded us, but also the wishes of the select board. So what I'm going to do is, and I'm hoping that we can have a vote on it tonight, so it can go before the select board, is I'm going to combine the changes that we proposed, as well as the changes that we've heard from the select board members, okay? So as I said, if you have access to this, it is part of our packet. So you take a look at that. So the first group of changes is on the first page, lines 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's a sentence. The purpose of this board is to provide meaningful involvement in safety, equity, and community policing efforts through the use of problem-solving and organizational strategies embodied in the philosophy of community policing. And then the second group, the members of the select board had requested that a bit of a definition of community policing actually be embedded in the document. So that's on lines 9, 10, 11, and 12. Community policing is a collaboration between the police and the community that helps identify and solve community problems. It requires that community members voice their concerns, contribute advice, and that they be active participants in the process of problem solving, and that this is adapted from the preface of an OJP government document. Any questions so far, board? Committee? Okay. So the next group of changes is under the goals. If you recall, we had recommended a lot of changes to these. So the first group is on lines 32 and 33. Recommend police department and CPARB trainings and community collaboration efforts. The next group of change is 34 and 35. Review and make recommendations to proposed and existing Bennington Police Department policies and procedures. The next is on line 36 and 37, review atomized data on complaints and compliments for the purposes of identifying problems, patterns, and positive actions. Next is on line 38, analyze town-wide safety data with a focus of equity and areas of need. 39, utilize state and national data to assist in understanding local trends as appropriate. So this gets back to the information that the chief is collecting around these other communities. 41 is foster collaborative efforts within the community to hear all voices. And then 42 and 43 remain the same. Any questions on any of that? No? Okay. Okay. The next change to what we had voted on already is on line, this is page 2, line 7, 8, and 9. Review itemized compliments and complaints to be utilized by the CPARB for the purposes of identifying problems, patterns, and positive actions. Now, keep in mind, these are the activities that we're going to engage in to accomplish the goals. Okay. The next one is on lines 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Actively engage individuals and organizations in the community to encourage and support a culture of inclusion, trust, and accountability through the use of listening sessions, attendance at community events, and other relevant activities consistent with the goals of the CPARB and this resolution as authorized by law. The next group of changes is on line 15 and 16. 17 and 18 are cuts. Provide an annual summary of yearly activities to be submitted to the town manager for inclusion in the annual town report. This is a whole new area on line 19. Participate in BEN-STAT meetings. So that will, because those meetings, as I understand, meet once a week. So that's going to...
I don't think so.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Cam? Once
a month.
All right.
Situation table would be weekly if that was something that the town went forward with.
Yeah, but we're going to do they want us to do BEN-STAT.
I have a question on that, though.
Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, the BEN-STAT does meet once a month. We are in a transition phase right now, in transitioning to the situation table. And with the BEN-STAT, we met this past month. And the team members there did not want to pause BEN-STAT. We thought that BEN-STAT was providing some useful information to our community partners in order to identify high-frequency individuals and locations. And it was that we needed to come up with a decision whether or not we were going to continue with BEN-STAT or the situation table, because it's a lot of work. Having both of them, it's very demanding on everyone's time, and we just didn't want one more meeting. And we as a group decided that BEN-STAT would continue as it's going to be modified. So it's going to be, we are going to work on the situation table with the BEN-STAT members meeting prior to each one situation table per month, because we're going to do it twice. Situation table is going to be twice a month. It's going to be just a 20-minute meeting before the situation table with our, our members from BEN-STAT and to discuss those just high-frequency individuals to make sure that we're getting, the results that we have been getting out of BEN-STAT. We don't want to lose ground on that.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions. And the first one goes around permissions, confidentiality, and if we are even able to participate in BEN-STAT because of that. And that's just based on the conversations with Project Alliance and some of the other things. So is that a concern?
So BEN-STAT is not a open where anybody can come in. It's a group of people that we've already agreed upon that actively work with members of the community from outreach type resources. So we're set with our members, and And there is a lot of confidentiality in Benstat.
That was a big topic and really delayed some of it getting up and going was all of and I know that they did some permissions with the clients to get around some of that, but I don't know how CPARB would fit into that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So the way Benstat works, real quick, I know that we've been here before and talked about it, just as a quick refresher. Benstat is talked about, we identify using data that we extract from our CAD RMS system, our records management system, on who's using the most police services. We take that data along with data from the SVSU as well as from the hospital, and we overlay that data to see who's using the most services and to try to get outreach to those individuals quicker. Because they may have, in the last 30 days, they may have 20 calls to the police department. And, the hospital, they're visiting the ER, another 15. So we use that data to make sure that, to identify these high-frequency individuals and get immediate outreach to them is quicker than we have in the past. And what we do is once we identify that a individual, there's someone from, we look at why the person's using the services, and then we identify a team member similar to the situation table, like we told you at the people who participated in the situation table. We were already doing this form of situation table. We did it took it upon ourselves, and we. Someone from the group, maybe one agency, maybe two agencies, will do that outreach to that individual, and we will go and introduce ourselves to that individual and say, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do. We're looking to go further into your background, what you need, sign off on some release paperwork, and then we can move forward with services. So that's kind of where we are with Benstat and the situation table.
So what entity leads Benstat? Does the police department?
The police department leads Benstat with the Department of Corrections.
Okay. So it's a Bennington town?
So the issue with Benstat is that it's just really the information coming out of our office is just Bennington PD. And that doesn't help the county.
Right.
That's where the situation table will augment to Benstat. The situation table is county-based.
Yeah, and the situation table is because I went to the training, the two-day training, and it's similar but more frequent, But I was just wondering, and I guess, at the risk of overstepping, do we even have the right to say we're going to participate in these? Is it the Department of Corrections? I mean, I guess if BPD is doing it, then that makes sense. But if Department of Corrections is the lead on it, or, because it all started with something John Rogers did, or started with you, and so I'm just saying, is that appropriate?
So I think what I would do is I'd put the question back on you. What type of outreach would you do?
Yeah.
That everybody in that room has some type of outreach.
Yeah.
And everybody has their expertise, whether it's UCS, the school district, Bennington Rescue, Turning Point, and Department of Corrections, and Bennington Homeless, Coalition on the Homeless. They all have some type of outreach. They all have something that they're going to bring to Benstat where they can do that outreach. And I guess I put the question back out on you.
Yeah. I mean, but my concern would be, we're not a service agency, right? And we're not bound at this point by HIPAA or any of those other regulations and policies in terms of confidentiality. And so I would wonder, I mean, I realize that this is something that the Select Board has suggested that be put in here, but I'm not sure what our role would be, because we're a volunteer board, and this kind of goes above and beyond, I think, what our obligations and responsibilities are, because we're not going to do outreach with these folks. We don't have that kind of capacity or capability to do outreach with these folks.
So if you're looking to put something in that place, I
Yeah.
would suggest Project Alliance.
Okay.
And being part of, I know, you're there.
I go to Project Alliance, yeah.
I would suggest Project Alliance, not so much Benstat.
Okay.
Or should it even be something more vague?
That's what I'm thinking.
Because Project
Nothing
Alliance
specific.
could go away, Benstat could go away, so should it be, and I don't know what the language is, participate in whatever genre these two things are? I don't know what they are. I don't have the language to describe what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I get that. And
I
I guess
almost
I
think-
circle back to the fact that we are not service providers.
Yeah,
So,
but
you know-
more importantly, not more importantly, but this document, that to me is too specific
Yeah.
for this document.
I agree. The chief and I were talking about that
Yeah,
earlier.
I do.
Okay.
And, that was a concern of ours when we saw that.
Yeah.
And we were, as you were presenting it, we were discussing it, and he told me to get up here.
Yeah, I think, I think really it falls under the lines 10 through 14.
Yeah, I mean, I do.
Yeah, and other
And,
relevant activities
Yeah.
or something. I don't think it needs to be in there.
So, because we're going to vote on this, we can either vote on, I mean, I don't know for certain, I mean, it seems to me that we should vote on the whole thing, or we can vote on parts of it. And, but it doesn't sound to me that members of the board are supportive of this particular addition.
That's correct, yeah.
So we
Okay.
can't strike that and vote on,
The select board,
I think we can strike it.
okay.
and
So-
vote on that and
Yeah, to
recommend
strike.
it back?
Okay,
To strike line 19 on
Okay.
page 2.
sure, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Page 2. Okay.
I think it's important that you understand that it's not because we don't want you there.
No, no.
No, for real. It's not like that. You have to rely and trust us to participate in Project Alliance, Benstat, and Situation Table. Now, I want to just reiterate, we were already doing the things here in Bennington that we felt were required. That was Project Alliance. Then we went to Benstat, and we took it a step further. But that's in Bennington, right? And what we're finding is that it needs to be a situation table, and other places need to come to our table, because what happens is you have problems in Bennington, so now you land in Arlington or you land in Manchester, and they don't know what services that people are receiving from Bennington. So now it becomes a situation table, so there's multiple organizations that come to the table. But there are people that can go out and do things with these folks that need assistance. So again, to reiterate, it's not that we don't want you there. You need to trust us to do our jobs, and then you can simply say during a meeting, how are things going with the situation table? And we're not going to share any names with you. We're going to tell you it's either up and operational, or we reverted back to Benstat and Project Alliance only. So it's to be determined. Right now, it's something that they want to try for 6 months to a year. The state wants it to be successful, but really in Bennington, we were already doing these things. We just need to get others involved so we can work in a collaboration, okay? So again, we respect you. We just don't think it's something that you should be participating in at this time.
Yeah, and I think you've heard us, that we agree with you.
Yeah.
Because we're not service providers.
Right, and most of you have jobs that you go to every day. These meetings happen during the day. These meetings happen at night. As you said, Kate, you're a volunteer board. And, as you progress through the small amount of training that you have left with another ride-along, you're already experiencing things that the officers see and deal with on a daily basis. So, Scott, you're next.
Instead of striking it, can you come up with language that, I don't know, maybe addresses you staying informed as a board of what Benstat and Project Alliance does. Get the word participate out, but
I think that's really covered in lines 10 through 14, through the use of listening sessions, attendance at community events, and other relevant activities consistent with the goals of CPARB. I'm afraid if we put something...
This resolution is authorized by law. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry. I'm afraid if we put specifics in there, program.
yeah, I
even if
didn't
you
mean
try to say
no. I don't want the
participate in
specific
community.
programs in there. That's not what I meant, not the programs, but do you feel like, and I don't know the answer to this, BenStat and the situation table is characterized accurately in the text that you just read, or is it something different that needs its own statement? Is it similar enough that it's...
I think other relevant activities is vague enough to cover changes, because what Project Alliance originally started out as was a program to look and see what additional resources we needed. And then it morphed into taking your existing resources and collaborating to make the most of what you've got. And then it went into some side groups where they were doing outreach for homeless, out in the motels in the woods and things like that. And then they were also doing BenStat, where they were trying to get statistical stuff together to look for higher rates of incidences in certain areas, like the lieutenant said, but it encompasses the SVSU, if there's truancy involved. It encompasses things that are happening up at the hospital, that some of the other agencies are going through, EMS and things. So it's more. I'm afraid if we put something like that in and it goes away or it morphs into something else, then it becomes a little bit too narrow.
Yeah, I don't get to vote, so you guys can do what you want to do. But to me,
you're the one who's going to vote ultimately.
Well, that's true.
Go to the select board.
So when I'm reading that statement on lines 10 through 14, to me, and I'm a wordsmither, you know that, I'm a pain in the neck. It's the backpack giveaway. It's activities like that. To me, that text does not address data and analysis. So, unless I'm missing it.
Well, we do have, there's a group of these in terms of reviewing required training, outcomes, recommendations, et cetera. Review existing collaborations with local organizations and agencies, and then review anonymized compliments and complaints, identifying problems, patterns, and positive actions. I'm wondering about...
what about line 38 on page 1? Does it follow under that?
Let's see, hang on one second. Line 38 on page 1 is analyze townwide safety data with a focus on equity in areas of need. And then because that's a goal. And then we move to
Line 4.
Yeah,
Page 2.
where we're reviewing existing collaborations with local organizations and agencies and making recommendations to strengthen and develop additional attendance at community events. Yeah, no, I get what you're...
It's different. To me, it's very different.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah,
it's a different category of engagement.
And then, I mean, we could add something about participate in...
No, participate's the right word.
Do you think it needs to be a separate bullet, or could we make a modification of another?
Yeah, that's possible.
And then I guess you don't think participate.
And maybe I'm wrong. It may be described accurately.
Well, see, we've got actively engage individuals and organizations in the community.
But they're not organizations.
Well, yeah,
it's initiatives. It's like...
Oh, I see.
They're not an organization.
They're not formal organizations.
No.
They're informal organizations.
Which is organizations and initiatives.
Actively engage, sorry for all this wordsmithing, guys. Actively engage individuals and
I'm just right, the organization and initiatives in the community.
Okay. What do you think of that? Would that
You mean
work?
taking organizations
No,
out?
No.
Or
keep
adding?
adding. So it-
Adding it, I think, would be okay.
The line would read,
But I wouldn't want to
actively
remove
engage-
organizations.
actively engage individuals, organizations, and community-based initiatives?
I like that.
I just think it's cleaner to have its own line
Okay.
because it is really different.
Okay,
It feels different to me, but like I said, I could be wrong. It feels different.
okay.
So I think a standalone statement,
So how would you say it?
I don't know, I'm not coming up
You're
with
the
any language.
wordsmith.
How would you
You
guys
said
say
it.
it?
Because we don't want to have the word participate.
No.
Any comments from the, from the audience about a word we could use? I mean, we're coming up with nothing.
Couldn't
She said
engage because we don't have any authority. We're not
No,
one of the
no, I
organizations
understand.
that can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's our challenge. You know, we're not going to do any outreach with these individuals who have needs. And there's an element, and this may sound a little strange, there's an element of voyeuristic activity here because we're just observing, right? And because we are not employees of any organization that delivers services, potentially we are not bound by the ethical codes and confidentiality requirements that those organizations, those service organizations require, right?
So,
I mean, so that would be, and I
There's also
don't doubt that we
liability.
would maintain confidentiality, we would have high standards of ethics.
I'm sorry,
But-
I'm wordsmithing over here.
Yeah, no, I
Kinda like
appreciate
not
that.
listening.
if we're not
but-
going to participate, what are
we
It's
gonna
just an
do?
awareness?
Do what they said, we will hear pertinent.
Okay, here's a little bit of a start. I
Okay.
have receive and something, I can't think of the word, information from whatever those, and receive and analyze,
No,
receive
because we're not
and
going to analyze anything.
process.
No,
So you're just going to receive
we're
it.
just going to receive it.
So just
'Cause
say
we have no
receive.
Should we
power
say
in that.
seek? Should we say seek?
No, we're not going to be seeking. It's just going to come, right? It just comes.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It's part of your
It has
report?
to be requests.
Yeah.
It's a confidential, it's not like it's not
No.
where
I
you
mean,
just
them
get a
reporting.
report.
No.
Do they just come and report Benstat information?
They've come
No
once
information.
and reported some, but it's all, it was more of an overview of what Benstat was, how they were meeting, and they do,
Okay.
they show, they have all like,
And sort of their
their
purpose.
information is specific.
Yeah.
So it's
This is
some,
client,
it's a
this is
specific
confidential
person, a
client
specific
information.
address, a specific incident. So it's, and when you talk about something like that, there is the whole confidentiality and permission, and maybe this is a town council question.
But you can receive information that's been redacted. I mean,
But if we participate in their meetings, it won't be redacted.
no, I'm not saying participate.
Absolutely not. We cannot give you redacted information about how we're
No.
how we're
Okay.
going out and helping people in this community with their specific needs.
Okay, I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I don't really think I know what I'm talking about.
Well, and I guess,
The problem, listen, the problem is people will not participate with us if we're coming back and we're reporting to you about all the people that we're helping. A lot of people are embarrassed. They struggle with the fact that they need our assistance or assistance from Turning Point or GBICS or what have you. So we absolutely cannot do that. I think the best way to move forward with this is to simply put something in there that you will receive information from the police department about different groups or initiatives is a great word. Different initiatives that the Bennington Police Department is participating in. The lieutenant and I will come here, or Sergeant Stemp will come here, or Sergeant Burnham, and say, yes, we're actively engaged in Benstat. We're still continuing to work with this initiative and all of our community partners to keep the Bennington folks healthy and safe. They'll come and report, because that way you know that we're still participating in Benstat, we're still participating in Project Alliance, but we're not going to give you specific information, redacted or not. It just can't happen because people will not come to us and trust us for the services that they need.
Can I ask, so that, like, just to skip ahead just a little bit, the next section is materials for review.
Yeah.
And things the police department is providing.
Yeah.
Would that be, would it just say any other relevant data on initiatives or whatever in that materials for review
Yeah,
section?
no, that's great.
So let me give you a great example. So this past week, Paul Doucette, Thalia Wilborn, Jason Burnham, and Allison Farney all went over to the Baptist Church in North Bennington, and we worked with Toys for Tots, and we helped arrange Christmas gifts, or holiday gifts, and things like that. We could come and say that was an initiative. We were asked to participate in that. We went over there. It was really a blast, believe it or not. And it was really a lot of fun. I got to see toys that I haven't seen in a real long time, and Connect 4 being one of them. And but the bottom line is that we can report to you that's an initiative that we participated in within this community to enhance our community policing. And I think that's important. So it doesn't have to be about Project Alliance or these, it could be a multitude of things. So I think we leave it like that.
Do you kind of do that already with the generic update, which may not be outlined in here, but maybe materials for review, the BPD shall provide the following, and it's got training and this, that, and the other. Maybe it's just any other initiatives or activities. And I don't know if it's just
Right.
general or community policing or
Right.
whatever.
I mean, we report to you on New Experience Camp. We tell you
Yeah.
how many kids participated. We tell you the different things that we did. So I think that we do it like that, and we
Yeah.
can still say we're participating, but I don't tell you the
don't-
name,
the
age, and
details.
gender of
Yeah.
the children that are participating.
Yeah.
So let's just keep it generic.
Okay, so how's this language then to add a bullet point under materials for review, which we haven't really looked at just yet, but to say update on community initiatives as appropriate?
Yes.
Okay,
But it already says at the top, on a specified or as-needed basis, so, you know, it already kind of covers.
so we don't have to use the word appropriate, as appropriate?
Yeah, I just
Okay,
think.
just leave that out. So updates on community initiatives.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And it could be anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then if one of you had a question, and hey, is the police department still participating in the situation table? Yes, we are. Our last meeting, we had X number of attendees, and we were able to work on some projects and accomplish some things, whatever. So I think that's the best way to handle it, so there's no specifics.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, because these are going to change.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there a way to, that sounds a community initiative. I mean, I was trying to define succinctly what BENSTAT, Project Alliance, and the situation tables are. Is there a catchphrase that kind of describes what those initiatives are specifically?
Are they
Is
multi-agency?
that part of the governor's safety?
Right. They're all different.
Safety initiatives, how about
Safety
that?
initiatives. There you go.
Safety initiatives.
Sure.
Would you call it a multi-agency collaboration or something also? I mean,
All three of those are a multi-agency collaboration.
Yeah, okay. So update on multi,
Yeah, I think Cam is right. I think you have to use, you should utilize the word community-based.
okay. Community-based initiatives?
Yes. Safety initiatives.
Sure.
Okay?
Okay. So the line
Good
will
work.
read, update on community-based safety initiatives.
Under
Okay?
materials for
Under
review.
materials for review. Okay, all right.
And we'll remove
Thank you.
line 19,
Yes.
participate in
Yes.
BENSTAT,
Yeah,
and replace it with the bullet in materials for.
yeah.
I
Okay.
like it because it's broader, and if BENSTAT stops, then it's
It's
not
broad,
irrelevant.
but yet it still explains
Exactly.
Yeah.
the purpose of them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because we want this, ideally, we want the resolution to be valid, be accurate for another 3 years. So, and those initiatives could change during that time. Okay, so any other comments on that? No, we appreciate it. So under materials for review, the BPD, because this is all new content, the BPD will provide the following materials on a specified or an as-needed basis to the CPARB. First bullet is BPD training information to include name of training, date, number and rank of attendees, location, in-house or consultant-led, state or federally mandated, BPD required or optional. So BPD, we want your input on this. 2, the second bullet is traffic stop data, including town and state of residency of those stopped, because then that lets us tease out a lot of the ethnicity data that right now appears to be that we have a lot more people of color than we have in the community. Because remember, we're a border state. The next one is complaints and compliments submitted through online portal. And the fourth one is quarterly summary of complaints against officers and investigation outcomes with names redacted. And then this addition, update on community-based safety initiatives. Any questions on any of that? Any comments on that? Please.
I can't promise that I can deliver the data on residency of folks right now.
No.
The program is, the Valcor program is not set up for that. That would have to be something that we could ask the state to do. But let's say we make, let's just make up a number, we make 3,500 traffic stops in Bennington. You know, we can give you the data that the program is capable of providing, but right now that program is not capable of pulling out town and state of residency. So that the Valcor board would have to be addressed. I'm happy to have Lieutenant Grandy address the Valcor board on that, but I can't promise you that. So I just want to be very clear that may not be something that I can.
Would there be a cost to approaching Valcor for that?
There's not a cost to approach Valcor on that?
But for them to do it?
Yes.
It would be a cost, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Good to know.
Just remember, that data that you're asking for, that the state doesn't even ask for that type of data.
Yeah.
And that's all done through boards.
Okay.
Their traffic stop and race data is specific, and that all gets reported to the academy, and that's all that information that's set. So they don't even ask for that information.
Do we just
They
say,
don't have a state denominator.
No.
do you just put if available after
So
this?
curious.
Could we ask Valcor and how much it would cost?
We can certainly ask. I just don't know what the governor's warrants will say.
Yeah, they may not.
fall
They may
back
just say
on,
no,
on
but-
state statute.
Okay.
Yeah, because it would be really, I think it would be really helpful for us, given we're a border community, and there's been a lot of concern that's been expressed by various folks that you are biased in some way against people of color. And if it's people passing through versus residents, I mean, like I said, there's no way Bennington has the proportion of people of color as the data suggest. So these aren't folks who live here. They're folks who are passing through, who are just not driving safely that you stop.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we just added if available to the end?
Yeah, I think we've got to do that.
Or do we wait, but we can't vote on it?
No,
if
I
we're
mean,
waiting?
the thing is that including state and town and state residency of those stopped, if available,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we have to add that.
And when available.
If available,
I think if is better than when,
yeah,
especially if it's a state change, because it may not.
it may be forever. Okay.
Well, on line 28, should consultant-led be hyphenated?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Any other comments, suggestions? Nope. Yeah.
Good evening. My
Good
name is
evening.
Jacqueline Matz, resident of Bennington, Vermont. The one piece on here that seemed a little unclear to me was line 15 on that same page.
Okay.
where it says, "Provide an annual summary of yearly activities to be submitted to the town manager for inclusion in the annual town report."
Right.
It's not clear which activities are to be included, if it's CPARB's activities or the police department's activities, or a mixture of both. It looks like the specific activities that are crossed out are kind of come from both agencies, organizations, whatever
Yeah.
you want. So I just thought maybe it could be clarified that it should be both, or you mean just one or the other.
We've actually gotten clarity from the Select Board that we're just supposed to focus on CPARB. The police department submits
They do
their own report. And so ours is separate from them, which is why we don't, why that other, those other lines were eliminated.
Sure.
Does that make, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. The
No, no.
last line on the previous page said the CPARB will,
Yeah,
and that's those bullets.
yeah. So is that, does that help you understand where this is going?
Understand?
Yeah.
But maybe, somebody else might have the same question, and so that could be clarified there.
Okay. Well, the thing is that in collaboration with BPD, the CPARB will, and that's where we say that we'll provide the annual summary. And it's submitted to the town manager, not the chief, and it's for this annual town report. Because there was some confusion on our part that we were supposed to combine it with BPD, but we're not.
You could just add CPARB.
We can, yeah. Okay, so then we would say provide CPARB.
Provide an annual
activity-
summary.
Provide an annual summary of CPARB yearly
Yearly
activities.
activities.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. CPARB, and that is on line 15. No, that's okay. 15. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts at this point? No? Okay. Then we've done materials for review. The next is under meetings. The preferred language from the Select Board is the CPARB. This is on line 1 on page 3. CPARB will meet at least every 2 months in person or in a virtual setting. They just want to make sure that we're meeting. Okay? No problems with that. And it was decided that the composition and eligibility, line 12, that we're striking members of the sentence, members must be Vermont citizens, so that's been stricken. Lines 20 to 23, CPARB will elect a chair, vice chair, a recording secretary on an annual basis following annual board appointments by the Select Board. The chair and vice chair must be current in all training requirements prior to election. So that's in addition to that. Any questions on that? No? The next is on page 4, under training. So this is lines 13 through 18. Members must complete training authorized by the Bennington Police Department Chief within 9 months of appointment to the CPARB. No member may serve as chair or vice chair unless they have completed all training. And then CPARB members shall take additional training on effective practices in civilian review of law enforcement over their term, not less than 1 additional training every 2 years. And then the training costs will be borne by the town. Any thoughts or questions about that?
Can I just ask a question back to line 22?
Sure. On page 2, on page 3? Where are
3,
you?
yep.
3, okay.
So the chair and vice chair must be current on all training requirements prior to election.
Yeah.
So what that means is the chair or the vice chair could not be new CPARB members.
Correct.
That's intentional. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yep, that was, and that was added by the Select Board.
Okay.
So that was intentional.
The select board or the meeting of the,
The meeting of the 3 of
okay, not the
you-
select board.
Yeah.
Members of the
Sorry,
select,
member- I
okay.
should have said
Okay.
members of the Select Board. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts on that?
Well, I just had a question about the training
Sure.
requirement and cost would be covered by the town of Bennington. Is this going to only be town of Bennington or CPARB organized training, or the way I could read this is that I could go do a training course on my own that I decide I like and the town would pay for it?
I don't read it that way.
Yeah.
So I think, what it means is that there has to be continuous training for us. So like Merrill coming in every year and,
Okay.
town council talking about open meeting, or, we had Bruce Lee Clark come in and do a training on that. CJIS has to be done every 2 years, different things like that. But that being said, the town does participate in the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. There is training available there, and if there were something that you were interested in, it would be something to mention and discuss, because number one, we might be able to apply it to the whole board.
Yeah.
And then they do have some trainings on there that are no cost or lower cost that we can do. And that would be talking with our select board liaison and the town manager.
No.
Paul, did you want to say something?
I have a question
Sure.
for Jean. Is the select board established a line item for, a line for CPARB training? Where will the funding come from for this?
I haven't seen the budget yet. I haven't looked at it for this budget season. So I can't answer that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Because in the past, we've not had a line.
You're right, we have not.
Right, and we've taken the money out of the police department budget.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a very good question.
So, and I did not budget for CPARB training.
Okay.
I'm happy to address that on the 4th of January.
Absolutely.
When I come here, because I know that our budget was decreased by $3,000 prior to you seeing it. We asked for $18,000 and it was reduced to $15,000. And I'm happy to make sure that these folks get the training that they get. But I mean, if we're going to take that money from the police department, we need to make sure that there's funding in there. Kelly is correct. There is no cost or low cost training available. But when we bring in someone like Merrill, she is not free. And if we bring in another attorney, they're not free. And we just want to make sure that we're not impeding the police department budget. But at the same time, I also want to share with you on another note, it used to be that you were not an active member of CPARB until you received training. Keeping in mind that this program has only been, up for about 2 years, we've had a lot of changes in the way we handle things. And I just need to make sure that Cam and I are on the same page as this board and the select board and the community, so that we don't make any mistakes. And I do think that's important. To just know where that funding's going to come from. We spent a lot of money initially on training members of CPARB, and some of the initial members are not even with us anymore. I mean, we're talking lots of money. So I just want to make sure that, it says that they have to complete their training within 9 months. There's a lot of other things that have to go on in order for a member to be on CPARB and actually get to do ride-alongs like they're currently doing now, the new members. I mean, you have to be cleared for all of that. And those aren't our rules. That it's not the police chief who makes those decisions. We all just had to take our training. It was probably 2.5 hours. Then we had to take an exam, and it really refreshes your memory about why we have to have our CPARB folks also participating in CJIS training. And so with that being said, I just want to make sure that we know where the funding's coming from and that we are able to get these folks the training that they need every other year. And that's all, just to be safe.
Yeah, and in the past couple of years, if there has been something that we've needed some small funds for, they typically come out of the general fund. But we don't do anything at all, spending anything without getting approval from the town manager on that first. So we try to be economical and watch the taxpayers' pocket.
Right.
So.
Thank you.
I just had a question, Paul. Sorry. It just made me think, I guess you and other people have come here a lot and probably spent a lot of time doing things with CPARB that maybe you didn't do the 2 or 3 years ago before CPARB existed. Do you budget, has your budget reflected that extra work, or is it just assumed that you'll fit that into the regular day-to-day activity? I don't know that it seems fair to just expect that you absorb a lot of extra work.
But that's how it is.
I know.
Seriously, that's how it is.
Unfortunately, in this world, I mean, you know that I help with the fire department because that's in my job description. I do the police department. I'm also responsible for emergency management. That has become a ton of work in this community, and but it's expected, and that's just something. I mean, if I didn't love my job, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying, but I don't want to really go down that road because it's a little frustrating at times.
Yeah.
The amount of time that's required as an administrator. Some people go home every day, Jeff, at 4:30. Others of us will leave here and go back to the office because our work's not done for the day.
Yeah, but to me, it just seems there is a limit, no matter how much dedication there is. At some point, people will become fully saturated, and they may not be able to do it all any longer. And it may not, and not even talking about like personal well-being and mental health and all of that, and the stress of it, but just at some point, there has to be a realistic appraisal of what is being asked. And it may mean additional people, or some things aren't asked anymore. It doesn't seem fair to add and not take into account what that's doing to the individual.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give it up now, but I mean, on January 4th, we're going to be asking the select board for some help, and I think that I'm hoping that they'll be receptive to that.
Okay.
Because there's preparation. I mean, we don't just come to these CPARB meetings and say, hey, there's preparation.
It's extra.
And there's pre-meetings so that we can set an agenda, although sometimes it might only be on the phone. Other times we have meetings so that we can, because listen, we want to keep the community apprised of what the police department is doing, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think that there needs to be a little bit of extra help. I agree with you on that, but right now it's just not there. It's expected, as Kelly said. So.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thanks.
There's one other group of changes, additions that may be a part of this, depending upon various votes regarding the charter changes that have been proposed. So these will fall under considerations, that section in this resolution. If the charter recommendations are approved all the way down the line through the legislature, which could be a year and a half or more, we would be deleting the paragraph that reads, the CPARB does not have the power or authority to investigate, review, or otherwise participate, in matters involving specific police personnel or specific police-related incidents. The CPARB will not receive or review complaints initiated against personnel of the police, nor play any role in civil or criminal litigation. The Bennington Select Board will retain the Town Review Board function as required by the Bennington Town Charter and Vermont statutes. So if the changes are approved all the way up through the legislature, become law, become part of the town charter, the following statement will be included in this under considerations. That section. Following an internal investigation by the Bennington Police Department, BPD, of a complaint against the BPD, the CPARB may review materials used in the investigation, including but not limited to video footage and transcripts as delegated by the Bennington Select Board under its charter.
So I just have a question.
Sure.
Being how the charter vote isn't until March, are we putting the cart before the horse, even having this in here?
No, because it's not going to be in here. It's not even the select board vote. It's the town vote.
No, I
It's-
get, yeah, no, I get that,
So
but
it's,
I
we're
mean,
looking at a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
so should it be in there now, or should it be in there when that passes? That's what I'm saying, are we putting the cart before the horse?
I'm thinking of it as like a placeholder.
Yeah, that's.
I mean,
that was
the
my
disclaimer is
understanding.
above, if the charter change adopted then, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So I don't think there's any harm in leaving it.
I just think it's,
Why cross out?
That, because this is.
That's what's gonna go away.
contrary. This is, he's talking about that we do not have the power or authority.
Yeah.
That would be cut because of the Charter Review Committee's recommendations that will be going before a town vote, right? And then it goes to the legislature, right? Then it goes to the governor. If it is a positive vote all the way through, it becomes part of the town charter. So if you've been following what's been going on with the Charter Review Committee regarding CPARB, the statement above it, which is following an internal review, blah, 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 CPARB may review materials. That then becomes relevant. That becomes part of the charge because of the positive votes and approval of from the governor, or whatever language that is from the governor.
yeah, Scott, right now,
Acceptance.
we're not allowed to under the law.
Right.
We're not allowed to view that under the law unless it gets changed under something called Dillon's Law and put into the charter. So if that happens, then we would be able to view some video footage in executive session,
Yeah.
I believe. So there's a lot of questions around that still that town council and everyone's working out.
Right, which is why Kelly questioned whether or not it should even be here. But as Jean said, it's a placeholder. Paul, you have a comment?
I have a comment. I just want to make sure that this board and the select board and the Charter Review Committee is paying attention to what's going on at the state level with the Vermont Criminal Justice Council. You know, on January 1st of 2025, there is a new code of conduct going into place for all law enforcement officers in the state of Vermont. The training video has been sent to police chiefs for us to review, and our internal affairs investigations ultimately may be sent to the Criminal Justice Council or to the director of the academy, and then he would forward them to the council for a subcommittee review. And I mean, there's a lot going on here, and it just seems like, you know, between our internal affairs investigations, we bring them to you, you vote on whether or not, you know, you concur or not. Yeah, and yet, if there is an Act 56 violation, it goes off to the academy for review. I mean, there's a lot going on here where, you know, listen, I mean, there are things that ultimately could be reviewed by the Criminal Justice Council that come out of Bennington or from any other place in the state of Vermont. And it seems like we're doing an awful lot here when there's already a program in place to deal with situations. And I would just ask, if you're not paying attention to that, to look at the code of conduct. I mean, it talks about on and off duty. There's just a lot to it. We have a code of conduct at the Bennington Police Department. Not every agency in Vermont has that.
That does on and off duty.
But you will, that's right. But if you don't have one now, you will have one. And it's going to be mandated. And it goes into effect January 1st of 2025. So I am proud to say that we're way ahead of the game on this. We have a code of conduct. We have we have an internal affairs policy that has been reviewed by the state and has been accepted by the state, and we are doing things correctly here in Bennington, and we seem to be adding more and more layers to something that is already working. So I caution you on all of this, and to be careful with redundancy, and I mean, there's a lot. There's police unions, there's the working agreements, there's all sorts of things that have to come into play here, and so far, I believe that the Town of Bennington Police Department has done everything correctly, and I think that finally, we're able to present the very small amount of complaints that we do receive here, and if it does need, it does warrant further review, then it can go to the Criminal Justice Council. So please keep that in mind as we work through all of this.
I think the intention was, you remember, the select board had to review a complaint.
Oh, I remember.
Several years ago? Okay. So basically, if I'm understanding this correctly, we felt like we would rather the CPARB fill that role than the select board. That's really the purpose of this language, was to, I mean, ultimately, if we had to, we would, but we're basically delegating that piece of the process to the CPARB board.
Yes, no, I understand that.
Okay.
I'm just saying that it just seems like there's layer after layer after layer, and we want to be as transparent as possible, but we also have to be careful. For example, with videos, and that's why it needs to be an executive session. So I think that if and when this comes to fruition, we need to make sure that people understand that the people that are at these meetings, when we go into executive session to review the complaint, they need to leave. We can't have people, possibly with their cameras taking pictures of the videos and things like that, or taking a video of the videos. There's confidentiality in there. So there's a lot going on here. We're just not going to come to an open meeting at CPARB and put videos.
No one's saying that. Oh my God, no.
But I think I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think your point is an important one. And for us to add a statement here that the CPARB under executive session would do that.
Yes,
and
that's important.
Be real explicit about under what circumstances we would actually be doing that.
It wouldn't be in this format.
Right.
Yeah, no.
But I think that unless that phrase is in there, that this is under, within, whatever word that is, in executive session, that may review materials. Does that?
Yes,
Okay.
it makes sense. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Also, I think that CPARB should not play a role in civil or criminal litigation.
Yeah,
Why would you take that out?
I don't know.
That shouldn't be taken out. We should not play a role in criminal litigation.
So that should be added to that.
Yeah, well,
So I think, I guess I'm going to change my mind, Kelly, and get rid of this section here for the time being, because there's too many unknowns here. And we haven't, because I don't know about anybody else, but I certainly don't want to be a party in civil or criminal litigation.
Absolutely.
I don't feel any kind of competence in doing that. Yeah.
I will vote no as is.
Oh, yeah. So how do folks feel about that? Rather than for us to play around with the language of these statements at this point, just to not even consider them at all, until such time as the governor says it's okay.
And there's going to probably be different members on the board.
Well,
at
yeah,
that
I would
point,
think
too.
so. Because, yeah.
I think there'll be a lot of change between the next, if the voters approve and then it has to go up. I mean, there's a lot to this. It could be ultimately 18 to 24 months before this goes into play.
At minimum.
And at minimum. So I'm certainly not encouraging. All I'm trying to do is educate you on the new code of conduct, January 1st, 2025, and the things that have to be done.
Yeah.
So there's, like I said, there's different layers. You all decide what you want to do. I just want to make sure you're all paying attention to that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Kate, if you, where would you put this language?
Well, from what I understood from the meeting that we had with members of the Select Board, this is actually under a goal.
It's a goal, okay.
That's under
So you may
goal.
want to put just some language in goals?
No.
No,
I don't think so.
not saying this will be, nothing,
No.
just, okay.
No, and the reason why is just because we're talking about 2 years from now.
So it'll stay with the Select Board until such time as it
Yeah.
gets passed over?
Yeah, because right now, we have no...
What is the
No
drive to put it in now? What is the,
Okay.
It's, well, we're talking about recommending, actually, we can't put it in right now.
right,
And it's all to do with the recommendations from the Charter Review Committee, right? But which is absolutely legitimate. Those are the changes, those are the recommendations that they've made. The Select Board has accepted them, but they have all of these different now
Stage gates to get
stages,
there, yeah.
steps.
Yeah.
And we're talking about potentially 2 years or
yeah.
more.
But what is the drive to put this in here now? Is there, I guess, to me, there's no good argument to put it
No.
in so far that I've heard, but there may be, and that's what
It
I'm
was the
wondering.
direction of the Select Board to put it.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
but I'm
just their
just wondering what the
recommendation.
logic
It was
was.
a
Why
recommendation.
not wait until it is a actuality and then update accordingly?
Yeah. No, I mean, that was just the recommendation, so
Okay.
we can either accept it or reject it. And my understanding is
I
it
would
sounds like
reject
we're more likely to reject it.
Reject it.
I would reject it.
Okay, so.
Should we add that this should be reviewed an annual basis or something?
I think that's in there.
Okay,
That's something that nobody has changed.
okay, I didn't see
And
it.
it's, and in fact, under review, this is the last page 4 on line 21 and 22.
Okay.
That phrase has not been, that sentence has not been changed. This document will be reviewed as needed, but not less than every 3 years following adoption.
Okay,
So that remains.
So it could be at
okay.
any
I'm just
time.
thinking someone's got to remember to go back to this document and put the language in
Well, I
however
would
it shakes
think
out.
that after it's gone through all these stages, that language may need to be changed.
That's what I'm saying. Someone's got to
Yeah.
remember to do that if it's
Yeah,
not you
well,
guys.
And
Doubt
it's
that will
not
fall through
us.
the cracks.
Right.
Unless we're still on the board.
That's,
Yeah.
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
got to be on somebody's radar to do that. That's why I would like it to stay,
Mm-hmm.
because it would force someone to take a look at it.
Yeah, and I think what you're hearing from members
you're
of the board.
assuming-
No,
is
I know.
I think what you're hearing from members of the board is that we don't feel it's relevant for now.
Okay?
And that, in fact, it might be interpreted that that's somehow something we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do it. We don't feel we should do it. Let's put it that way.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
We don't
I-
feel we should do it. Yeah.
Should we put in here additional wording, maybe under review, that if there are any changes to a charter, mandatory review, something
Okay.
like that,
Okay.
just that drives, yeah.
But isn't that
I think it's covered
self-evident?
already in that. I think that's
Yeah.
covered in that statement. I don't think
Yeah.
it needs to be in there. And I think that if it does get passed and it goes through all of the steps, I'm sure it will not fall off the radar.
No,
I'm
that's for
positive
sure.
of that.
That's for sure. Okay, so given what we have done so far, and can we have a motion to accept the document with the changes that we've proposed?
I just have an issue.
Okay.
We elect a chair, a vice chair.
And a secretary?
I thought that automatically got done by the town.
No, we
No, we
do.
did
that. We did that at our first meeting. We did that at the first meeting.
I don't know that you were on
I
that.
don't know if you were there.
Yeah, you might not have
have
been.
been, maybe I think that was the one you were traveling and were a little bit late to. And we
Yeah.
did that first.
Yeah.
That's always the first order of business going into the new fiscal term year.
Yeah.
So one of us is going to have to be the secretary and take minutes?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always been, Vicky's
That's
been
always
doing
been the
that.
case.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
Will
Vicky-
did it before, Marsh did it.
Yeah.
Marsh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we take our own minutes, we do our own
Stuff.
everything. Yes.
If there's any worry, Scott, I just want you to know your training will be complete and you'll be eligible.
Yes.
And you'll be eligible. Okay.
So do we have a motion to accept it as amended with,
There's several changes.
yeah. Do you want to go through those, or do you want?
No, I would rather not.
How
I'm
about
good
that?
with, I think I understand it. I don't know if
Okay, we're
everybody
good.
else does.
The
Okay, so
the
can
only
we
thing
get a
I'm not
motion?
clear on is that paragraph that was Xed out. Are we going to
Oh,
leave that now?
that's still here.
So that's going to be left?
That's still here.
Okay.
That's staying in there?
That's staying in here.
Okay, all right.
That's not, hang on one second, that's under considerations. So the
Okay.
paragraph that was going to be cut under consideration remains.
Remains, okay.
But
Because
the
we
red-
do not have the power or authority.
Lines 1 through 5 are not
I'm good with
there,
that.
But lines 7 through 11 are.
Yep,
Okay, so they just stay.
yep.
So lines 41 and 42 on page 4 and 5, and lines 1 through 6 on page 5 are gone?
Yeah.
Okay. And lines 7 through 11 stay in place until such time as any possible amendment to the charter is done and approved by all of the Vermont legislative process.
Yes, yes.
42 and 43 stay.
Well, she's talking about,
If the charter change is adopted, then,
she's
Okay.
talking about.
so that, I don't think that needs to be in there.
Okay.
Well,
How about-
we're deleting everything from
Yeah, so-
line 41 on, because the other
Right.
section is on page 240
Oh, okay, so
through
then, right,
44.
so then 7 through, so.
Yeah, we're just
so
getting
we
rid of
just end it.
everything.
So it ends at page 4,
Yes,
line 39.
yes.
Okay,
And then everything else is deleted.
that I'll support. You don't support page 5.
I make a motion, we accept
Okay, with that
with the
paragraph.
amended changes.
Okay, so I have a motion to accept with the amended change. Can I get a second?
Sure, I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor of accepting update 3.0 with the suggested changes that we made for the resolution for the Community Policing Advisory Review Board, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Any abstentions? So carried.
wanna
Will
see
you
what
get that
considerations is? Yes.
modified and up
Yes,
to Jean
yes.
and Ed?
Yeah, I'll forward it to you for review first,
Perfect.
just to make sure I've caught everything, and then I'll send it to Jeannie Jenkins.
Awesome.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
And then they'll let us know when it's on the agenda for the select board, and what our responsibilities are there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so next item up on the agenda is the 2025 Public Safety Forum discussion. So Scott, would you just give us an update on location? The Public Safety Forum is going to be February 26th, Wednesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m.
Yes, and the Mount Anthony Union High School auditorium has been granted to us for that time.
Thank you. Vicki was not able to be with us tonight, but she has worked with the Y. We will be providing childcare. The cost is $50. That will be coming out of the general fund, and the town manager has approved that. So there will be childcare available with no cost to the participants who are coming. And then next up on that, we have the format and some of the questions, and Kate, you and Lindsay had put that together, so I'm going to ask you to explain.
Sure.
Or to cover that part.
Because we're going to have a number of people at this event, and we thought that it would be helpful to them to have certain topics or questions to respond to. Obviously, there's going to be questions and issues that community members who attend may raise. But here are the suggested topics. The first is to provide an overview of factors that increase community-level violence and prevention strategies in Vermont. And we've got a document here as an example that's at the national level. That document is the CDC around violence prevention. The second topic was discussion about the current violent crime rate in Vermont and Bennington, so that members of the panel can inform the public about how it's gone down and what they each see as the reason for this. A third one is a discussion of why offenders of serious crime are often released without any jail or prison time. And the fourth one is a discussion of the many risks citizen involvement in criminal apprehension, for example, vigilantism, pose for the public, the police, and the individuals themselves. So we thought with those 4 topics, it would be a good start. We haven't, at this point, made any determination as to who would be the lead person on the panel to sort of begin that conversation, because we haven't yet finalized all the members that will be on the panel. At least that's my understanding. So are there any questions or comments from members? My understanding is that this forum will be about 2 hours long.
Yeah. And I think we should just also start with a quick, when they do introduction, maybe a couple, 2-3 minutes about what their roles in the process are. Because we're hoping to have the state's attorney's office there, Bennington Police Department,
State Police.
Vermont State Police, and they all have different roles and how things play together with that.
Are there any comments or questions from the public?
Jeff, did you have a question?
6 to 8 p.m. And once the details get firmed up, there'll be a lot more advertising that goes on about that. I think right now there is a poster, isn't there, that's out in various...
Save the date. Jonah did a fantastic job on it. Thank you, Jonah.
Fix the date.
Yes, he did. Originally, it was the wrong date, but it is
Save the
corrected
right
now.
date.
Yes, we do have the correct date. So thank you. Okay. Any questions on the questions or comments?
Is there anything that members of the board or the community think we should, in addition to these 4, in terms of topics or, no? No? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Well, that's good.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. And then, Jeff, can you and Scott Richmond work with Jonah on some additional public releases, maybe some QR codes, stuff like that, like he's done for us before on the listening sessions? Okay. All right. Thanks. Right. Okay. That's it. Okay, so next on the agenda is upcoming agenda items. In January, we will once again be updating on the public safety forum that we're working on. Hopefully, if we are able to get on the select board agenda, we'll have an update from that. And the chief mentioned the budget meetings are coming up January 4th, and I think the 11th is the second one. Correct. For the other ones, so people know about that. And announcements. Anything else, anyone else, upcoming agenda that somebody else would like to see?
Are we switching to every 2 months then, starting?
No,
Oh.
we can't.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. All right.
That's
There
in
it
the
is.
new resolution.
Okay.
Okay.
So once the select
haven't
board
voted on it yet.
votes on the changes to our resolution, then we can change how often we meet.
Yes, but
Okay.
until then, it's
Until then, we
monthly.
can't.
Gotcha.
Okay. We are going to the 4th Thursday. So starting in January, our meeting will be the 4th Thursday. So for January, it's January 23rd. It's still at 6 p.m. in the firehouse here on River Street in the 3rd floor. So any other announcements or anything? Okay. Well, before we wish you all a happy and safe holiday season, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Abstains? Thank you. This concludes our meeting. Our next meeting will be Thursday, January 23rd at 6 p.m. in this very room. So thank you all and have a wonderful and safe, happy holiday season. Happy New Year. Thank you.